Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear best friend. Happy birthday to you. You're so excited! All your friends and relatives are here. Your adult life has just begun. You've graduated from several colleges, got a driver's license for all kinds of vehicles, and read several thousand books. You're full of energy, and you're only 80 years old. You blow out the candles with this number on your birthday cake. Your parents are here. They're more than 200 years old. Your best friend has recently celebrated 112 years, and your younger brother is only 75. And you all look young for your age. Welcome to the world where the average human lives 400 years. Throughout the centuries, the dark, cold waters of the North Atlantic were hiding the secret of such longevity. The Greenland shark is the longest living vertebrate on Earth. Was a 400-year-old massive creature. That shark swam in the oceans during the era of pirates. In 2050, scientists found an unusual gene in the shark's DNA. It helped to slow down the aging of the animal. The researchers managed to combine this gene with human DNA, and the life of all people on the planet changed dramatically. 50 years later, at the beginning of the 22nd century, everyone got the opportunity to live for 400 years. The first 80 years of life are considered to be your youth. Mentally, you're developing as quickly as a person from the past. At the age of 80, those people were wise, but already old. In your world, you are as intelligent as an 80-year-old person, but your body, your psyche, and your health are those of a young person. Until you become 20 years old, you grow like a person from the past, but after that, the process slows down by 5 times. During these 80 years, a lot of things happened. You finished school and graduated from college. It took you about 15 years. After that, you received another education and another one. You can get about 10 diplomas in different spheres. Throughout this time, you don't have to work to earn money. Your studies are paid for by the state, and your family gives you enough money to live a happy life. Almost all people on the planet have this opportunity. In the first 80 years, you gain life experience. You find love. Have your heart broken, worry about unimportant things, get into troubles, do rash things, fail, and achieve success. You make new friends. You lose old ones. You make scientific discoveries and learn several languages. When you're 40 years old, you feel like an adult. You no longer want to study. You want to get a good job and live your own. Unfortunately, no company will hire you until you're 100. They believe that you just aren't ready. You're still controlled by your emotions and ego. You need to spend 60 more years getting more life experience. By the age of 100, you can't help but go through a lot of conflicts and problems. But it helps you overcome vanity, arrogance, greed, selfishness, and other human vices. And only after you do this, you begin to gain real wisdom, karate, and other martial arts. Or you might become a professional in boxing and figure skating. You train your body and, in this way, prolong your life even more. Now you're 100 years old. Adulthood has begun. You want not only to explore the world, but also to improve it. You've already decided what kind of business you want to get into. It can even be several projects. You might make a breakthrough in genetic engineering, or invent a bracelet that can help you escape gravity so that you can fly. You can explore space and other planets. For the first 100 years of your life, you've realized that the main goal of any person is to work for the benefit of humanity. You make loads of scientific discoveries. Several billion people are doing it together with you. Someone has chosen psychology. Others have picked biology. You've chosen space. In your lifetime, you alone can do more than 5 generations of people did in the past. You earn enough money to lead a comfortable life. You invest in charities and support your family. Also, you pay taxes so that younger generations can explore the world. Every day, scientists, doctors, IT engineers, and astronomers create things that improve people's lives, like an invention that records your dreams and reproduces aerial cities, and many other things. almost every person keeps track of the history of their life. It's necessary to remember who they used to be, who they've turned into, and who their ancestors were. You record the knowledge you've got, your achievements and failures. The next generation will also keep a record. Science is developing at an incredible speed. Some kind of time machine has been invented. It can't take you to the past, but it can show you the events you're interested in. People are wise enough to understand that traveling to the past or future can turn into a huge problem. But thanks to this invention, you can see your ancestors who lived in the early 21st, 20th, and even 19th centuries. You realize that your descendants will also be able to see you 1,000 years later. People have always wanted to explore new worlds, so they begin to colonize other planets. Some of them are even beyond our solar system. At first, people had to adapt to the conditions on the new planet, and it didn't always end successfully. Some planets were so harsh that people had to leave them. Many spaceships had to surf the expanse of space for years. And then, you, together with a group of other scientists, created a technology that could turn the atmosphere of any planet into the one we have on Earth. A planet where it rains diamonds, a planet with lava flowing on its surface, a planet with icy winds blowing nonstop. All of them could now become habitable. In the past, rich people bought large houses. Now, they can buy a planet. After a person turns 100 years old, they stop celebrating their birthday every year. For such a long life, this holiday becomes too frequent and loses its value. Besides, you have too many friends. If all of them celebrated their birthdays every year, you'd have to buy gifts and go to parties almost every day. So, you only have celebrations every 10 or 20 years. Once, you rented an entire planet with zero gravity and celebrated your 250th anniversary for a month. The human race is at its peak. Scientists and doctors are improving the structure of the human genetic code. Now, people can already live for 500 years. And in the future, the average life expectancy will reach the mark of 1,000 years. During their last 100 years of life, people spend their time relaxing, meditating, live by the sea, and watch sunsets every day. You deserve it after having spent the last 200 years of your life on creating an engine for intergalactic travel. When you turn 300 years old, you decide to go on a journey through the universe. You can explore planets thousands of light years away from Earth. Someone might decide to spend the rest of their life with their family. In the past, the human heart used to beat around 3 billion times during an average lifetime. Your heart has already beaten more than 15 billion times. A person from the past used to make more than 200 million steps during their life. That's about 110,000 miles. You've already covered a distance of more than 500,000 miles, which is 1 billion steps. During the 400 years of your life, there have been more discoveries than during the entire history of humankind.
Ready for a shock? Only about 43% of you is actually you. The rest are your friendly neighbors, microscopic creatures that help you function properly. They mainly live in your gut, but also spread to other parts of your body and never leave it. Still, even though your own cells are fewer than microbial ones, there are, on average, about 100 trillion of them in you. If you take all the microbes dwelling within your body and count their genes, it'll be anywhere from 2 to 20 million genes and their combinations. Tomatoes have more genes than humans. Well, the part that's actually us, of course. This shouldn't concern you, though, because it's not the number of genes that matters, but the complexity of their connections. Our brain is actually pretty large, almost as large as a pillowcase. It's squeezed into a relatively small head just because it's very wrinkly. If you could spread it out, you'd see how brainy you are in reality. When you age, your brain is gradually reducing in size. By age 75, it's much everyone and doesn't affect your mental strength in any way. Our brain can store only 7 bits in its short-term memory. Don't even try to compare your brain with a phone capacity, not even the one you had back in 2005. A mere byte is 8 bits. That's why you can't even learn a phone number by heart. Our short-term memory functions just like a chalkboard. You can get some info, but sooner or later you run out of space. Working memory is an essential thing that we need to perform almost any everyday activity, including basic conversations, navigating in the city, and even trying to copy the moves from a workout video. Our strongest and most emotional memories are usually fake. It's the way the central memory works. It gives us the confidence to believe everything we remember is real, even though we should be confident about fewer details. Your bones become more brittle with age as well, and your spine gets compressed. That's why older people often lose some of their height. In the same way, you're a bit taller in the morning than in the evening because your spinal column gets some rest while you're asleep. This effect is temporary, but the one that comes with age is, unfortunately, permanent. Our lifespan is programmed within our cells. They constantly renew and divide, but they have a sort of internal timer that stops at some point. Some cells also stop reproducing sooner than others. On average, cells cease dividing when we reach the age of 100. That means if we could find a way to trick our cells into turning off the timer, we could potentially live forever. Among mammals, only humans can always walk on two hind limbs and keep that posture for their entire lives. You might object that kangaroos and gorillas move in the same way, but kangaroos use their tail as a third leg, and gorillas use the help of their long arms to keep balance and shock absorber. Your body sends the most fat into your waist region because that's where your internal organs are. If something happens to you, this layer of fat might as well protect your vitals from irreparable damage. Your bones take part in metabolism too. Since they mostly consist of calcium, when there's not enough of this element in your blood, bones start shedding it into the bloodstream, balancing your body. And vice versa. When there's too much calcium in your blood, it goes into the bones to be stored for later. Your skull consists of 28 different bones, many of which are fused together to protect your brain. The mandible, or lower jaw, is the only skull bone that's only kept attached to your head with connective tissues and muscles. And the smallest bone in your whole body is inside your ear. It's called stapes, and it's no larger than a grain of rice. The only bone to have a sense of humor in your body is inside your upper arm. Some of the strongest muscles in your body aren't in your arms or legs, they're in your head. Masseter is the main muscle responsible for chewing, and it needs to be the strongest for you to eat normally. And you know those muscles that allow you to move your ears? Those are temporalis, located above your temples. They also help you to chew your food. We've got two really fast muscles. They control the eyelid closing. In fact, they're the fastest muscles in our body. Eyes are fragile and need protection. That's why, when a reflex is triggered, these muscles shut the eyes within less than a tenth of a second. It's been believed for a long time that a person could distinguish more than 10,000 smells. We also remember them better than anything else, and smells can even evoke some distant memories. We recognize only purple-blue, green-yellow, and yellow-red colors. Everything else is a combination of these three. It's impossible to calculate how many of these combinations the human eye sees because every single person has slight vision differences, but it's about 1 million combinations on average. We feel about 80% of the taste of any food thanks to the nose and its ability to recognize odors. If you hold your nose while eating, you will taste almost nothing. You might have a chocolate bar or smoked fish in your mouth. There will be no difference for you. Your sense of smell turns completely off while you're asleep. Your brain just doesn't register any smells. So if you've fallen asleep and then something starts stinking in your house, you won't be bothered in the least. Rover, you bad boy! Your nose doesn't just help you breathe and catch odors, it filters the air for sensitive throats and lungs. If we inhale dry air, the nose moistens it, cools it, and heats it if it's necessary. Also, the nose cleans the air from dirt. We can accidentally digest small objects, such as plastic items, glass, coins, and many other small objects. They'll make their way through the digestive tract within 48 hours. And there's even a man who managed to eat a whole airing there forever. The guy replied, "No, just passing through." Yeah, I made that up. Speaking of meals, you feel sleepy after a hearty lunch or dinner because of your basic instincts. Your brain thinks, and rightfully so, that when you eat, you're safe. And if you're safe, you can lie down and have some rest before going back to the world's same smell. Now, our brain perceives giving presents as a more positive act than receiving them. Humans are social creatures. That's why, when we do something good for others, we feel good ourselves. The brain gives us a reward for acting this way in the form of oxytocin, the happiness hormone. Yep, we're bioluminescent, just like some deep-sea creatures. The only difference is that our glow is so weak that only they're gotta glow. Ay ay ay, about 6% of people can vibrate and rapidly shake their eyeballs back and forth. It doesn't mean something's not right with their eyes, it's just a unique trick they can perform. Good at parties, I suppose, or even 3 times your body weight. That's impressive, but your teeth are even stronger. When you bite something, the teeth can exert incredible pressure, up to 200 pounds. By the way, the enamel is considered to be part of your skeletal system. Your stomach has a pretty incredible capacity, being able to hold up to half a gallon of liquid, a whole large bottle of Coke. It's pretty hard to estimate how much hard food you can squeeze into your stomach, since the food is processed with your teeth before it gets inside. There's definitely not enough room for a turkey, but a good-sized chicken will probably fit it. Whenever you rotate your hand, the bones inside it actually intersect. Grab your hand and verify it. Yeah, not very useful. Now, show me where your stomach is. If you're pointing at your tummy, sorry, but it's wrong. It's up here, hidden between your ribs. Fun fact about bones. You know that your body is about 60% water, right? What's new here is that your bones are in this too. About 25% of the human bone mass is made up of water. Scientists believe that the appendix isn't here to stay. Nobody really knows why we need it, but some researchers claim it helped our ancestors process the tree bark they were eating. As it's no longer part of our daily diet, the appendix can disappear from our bodies without any consequences. A human eye has some resemblance to a car engine. They both need various liquids to perform properly. An engine needs gasoline, and an eye needs tears. In order to work well, the tears should be thoroughly distributed all over the eye. That's why we blink up to 20,000 times a day. So, a lid is a bit of a windshield washer. Almost all of our body is covered with hairs, even if we don't notice them. They grow even in the belly button. Their purpose is to catch lint. The only part of the human body that doesn't get any nutrients from blood is the cornea of the eye. Instead, it's fed by tears and fluid in the front of your eyes. If you never knew you had a personal bodyguard, look deeper. Your liver is your security guard, protecting you from toxins and many other things you don't want to have. It's also pretty indestructible and can even regenerate. When you blush, it means there's an increased blood flow in your body. Not only do your cheeks get somewhat red, but your stomach lining too. It's because it has plenty of blood vessels, and when there's more blood than usual, it turns red. Only about 43% of you is actually you. You're over 50% tiny little creatures that mainly live in your gut and other body parts without ever leaving it. Still, even though your own cells are fewer than microbial ones, there are, on average, about 100 trillion of them in you. Let's count them. You start. Your stomach has a lining replaced every 3 to 4 days. That's done to stop it from eating itself. The digestive acids we've got can be pretty damaging. Is that your sense of smell basically deactivates at night. We can accidentally digest small objects, such as plastic items, glass, coins, and... Really? Just trust me on this one. You have better things to do. Scientists used to believe we could distinguish about 10,000 smells. Nope. Recent research showed that people were able to distinguish more than 1 trillion smells. We also remember them better than anything else, and smells can even evoke some distant memories. We can digest tiny quantities of plastic, but the human digestive system can't really bear grass. Grazing animals have special teeth and several stomachs to process raw leaves and grass, while we have none of that stuff. But don't feel bad. Among mammals, only humans can always walk on 2 hind limbs and keep that posture for their entire lives. You might object that kangaroos or gorillas move in the same way, but the roos use their tail as a third leg, and gorillas use the help of their long arms to keep balance. Hydrochloric acid in our stomach kills dangerous food toxins, viruses, and bacteria that get in there with the food you eat. This acid can digest even the stomach itself, but the mucous membrane protects it. Body fat isn't just a nuisance. It acts as insulation material, energy reserve, and shock absorber. Your body sends the most fat into your waist region because that's where your internal organs are. We've got two really fast muscles. They control the eyelid closing. These are the fastest muscles in our body. Eyes are fragile and need protection. That's why, when the reflex is triggered, these muscles shut the eyes within about 100 milliseconds. That's not more than 0.1 second. We recognize only purple-blue, green-yellow, and yellow-red colors. Everything else is a combination of these three. It's impossible to calculate how many of these combinations the human eye sees because every person has slight visual differences, but it's about 1 million combinations on average. Now, even if you brush your teeth twice a day and never forget about mouthwash, your mouth still stays one of the dirtiest parts of the human body. Ew. Millions of bacteria live inside it. The good news is that most of these bacteria are good for the body and protect it from bad bacteria and viruses. The second dirtiest place is the belly button, and it's probably because it's the first ignored place. The thing is, we don't really use them after we're born, so this forlorn area accumulates all kinds of germs, sweat, and dirt. The belly button has over 2,300 bacterial species, and it does need extra attention. You think you owe your strong handshake to all your strength workouts? Well, you're more likely to owe it to your pinky. Just kidding. Anyway, a pinky is the strongest finger out there. This humble finger is responsible for 50% of your hand strength. Still, the most used finger is the thumb. It takes to itself 40% of the hand's action. Well, it probably makes it the most important finger too. Two more humble helpers are your toes that carry about 40% of your weight. If you've ever heard that humans don't really need their toes, don't believe it. They're also the main pushers when you walk. Tomatoes have more genes than humans. This shouldn't concern you though, because it's not the number of genes that matters, but the complexity of their connections. Nails don't only help us catch random objects and peel the stickers off. If you didn't have a rigid structure against which to press, you wouldn't be able to judge how firmly to hold anything. Our hair color is easily explained by genes. There are not more than 2% of people with naturally red hair. They're followed by blondes, about 3%, and all the varieties of brown shades, only about 11%. The vast majority goes to black hair, including very dark brown. Yeah, your hair can stop growing at a certain length. A hair usually grows from 2 to 7 years, so usually it doesn't exceed 42 inches. Well, tell that to this gal from China who broke all the hair records with the longest hair ever. In 2004, her hair was 18 feet, 5.5 inches long. Rapunzel! Where have you been, girl? When we laugh, think, look at something, dream, move, or do some other activity with our body, small electrical and chemical signals run between neurons along those connections. Our brain is always active, sometimes even more when we're sleeping than when we're awake. And by that, neurons make and send more information than all the phones in the whole world. You're sitting somewhere outside and an insect lands on your leg. Your skin has sensory neurons and they quickly send the message to your brain at an impressive speed, 150 miles per hour. The brain sends back the message to your leg to shake the insect off very fast, and the speed that information travels is even bigger, 200 miles per hour. Now, toenails grow around 4 times slower than your fingernails. This happens because we do more things with our hands compared to feet, which is why we cause more trauma to our fingernails. Now, there's a high possibility your right hand has different types of microbes than the left one. Depends on our skin thickness, humidity, temperature, texture, and chemistry, which can change as we use our right and left hands in different ways. Our nails and hair are made of keratin, which is a material we find in certain body parts of some other animals as well. For instance, claws, hooves, horns, wool, fur, feathers, beaks, turtle shells, and porcupine quills. Our body is made of stardust. Really? The more complex elements in our body can only come about through supernovas, the process of combustion. This finally led to a nuclear reaction in its center. Stars that were there right after the Big Bang were over 50 times bigger than our Sun is now. Inside of them, there was a constant process of making the elements, and those large stars were burning their fuel faster. Most of the elements in the human body were formed in those stars over billions of years. So you could realistically say that part of you is immortal. Cool, huh?